With just a few days for the new year to dawn, what are the going-ons of the country? Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit. Your headlines first.
Health sector warns of severe consequences if rising levels of malnutrition are not addressed. Low-income agrarian families to be given an allowance of 15,000 rupees. Aragale activists summoned to the CID.
අපි කිසිම වෙලාවක මේක අපස්සට ගන්න ලෑස්ති නැහැ. ඉතින් අපි එකක් කියන්න ඕනේ අපි අරගලේ නතර කරන්නේ නැහැ.
Rural Sri Lankans battered by ad hoc development drives. China ends COVID quarantine for travellers in January.
Now to your stories in detail. Businesswoman Thilini Priyamali, who was arrested and remanded for alleged financial fraud, placed a bond at the Fort Magistrates Court for one case filed against her.
Newsfirst correspondent said that she was taken away by prisons officials for a separate case thereafter. On the 16th of December 2022, Fort Magistrate Thilina Gamage ordered for businesswoman Thilini Priyamali, who was arrested and remanded for alleged financial fraud, to be released on bail. In addition, Janaki Sirivardhana, who is alleged to have aided in the crimes, was also ordered to be released on bail on that day.
Meanwhile, activists from the Aragale, Anuruddha Bandara and Danis Ali were summoned to the Criminal Investigations Department today. Danis Ali and Anuruddha Bandara were summoned to the CID to obtain statements over the incident where the president's private residence was torched.
අද අපිට එන්න කියලා තියෙන්නේ ජූලි 9 වෙනිදා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයාගේ නිවස ගිනි තැබීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රකාශයක් ලබා ගන්න.
Today we were summoned to obtain a statement regarding the incident where the house of Ranil Wickremesinghe was set fire. It must be mentioned this incident occurred when the people of the country rose against the corrupt politicians and occupied three main buildings in the country. Also, people who stayed opposite Ranil Wickremesinghe's house were inhumanely attacked when this incident took place. Also, Vasantha Mudilige is still under remand custody. Many people who were part of the Aragale are remanded. They are harassed in different ways, and if they think they will be able to disrupt our journey, it will be only limited to dreams. We are not ready to back down, and we are not people who will engage in deals and do politics. We will continue to engage in this Aragale for the people of this country.
ගන්න ලෑස්ති නැහැ. අපි මේ සාම්ප්‍රදායික ඩීල් දේශපාලනයේ පිරිසක් නෙවෙයි. අපි දිගින් දිගටම මේ රටේ මිනිස්සු වෙනුවෙන් මේ අරගලේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා කියලා කියන්න කැමතියි. ඉතින් අපි එකක් කියන්න ඕනේ අපි අරගලේ නතර කරන්නේ නැහැ.
We will not stop the Aragalaya because a man without the people's mandate is trying to rule the country. Those in parliament will accept this. However, we will not do so. We can now see that everyone is separating themselves under their parties and getting ready for the election. We are not part of any party. We will carry the Aragale forward. We will bring forward a change in the Aragale. We wish to tell you, if you are ready to contest the elections, if possible, try win in Colombo. We will form a new force in the Aragale in Colombo and we will win.
අරගලෙන් අලුත් බලවේගයක් හදනවා අනිවාර්යෙන් අරගලේ කොළඹ අල්ලනවා අල්ලන කල්ලනවාමයි. බොහොම
Moving on to other local stories, the JVP's Tilvin Silva, speaking to a gathering in Hambantota, commented on the present government and the aspirations of the people.
After Gotabaya Rajapaksa vacated the post, the person with no public mandate was appointed as the president. The Rajapaksas did not choose Dala Sala Peruma as their trusted protector, but went with Ranil Wickremesinghe. Recently, Basil Rajapaksa said that the best decision they ever made was appointing Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president. When Ranil Wickremesinghe made the president, the country was plagued with issues. What did he solve after becoming the president? Did he reduce the prices of goods? Did he import sufficient stocks of fuel? We are still pumping fuel based on the QR system. He only solved the issues of the Rajapaksas. After going on for a few months and dealing with the IMF, do you think Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Rajapaksas will save the country? No, it will fall into a deeper abyss.
Moving on to other stories, SLPP parliamentarian Vimalavira Dissanayake said that if the government does not address the issues of the people who have been affected, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will have to take a decision on the matter.
Just because we are in the government, we are not their henchmen, neither will be merely spectators. No, we are ready to cheer on the government and then get reprimanded by the people. We are Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Like we assisted them to form a government, we will not keep quiet if they are trying to burden the people. We will not hesitate to use the power of our right. We are not ready to leave SLPP. However, a person like me is ready to leave the government. We discussed about the new taxes as well. If our views are not heard, we are ready to form another faction that hears our views, and even if that fails, we are ready to protect our self-respect as well as the party and act accordingly.
Meanwhile, the United States Agency for International Development has decided to provide a $42 allowance, which is 15,000 Sri Lankan rupees, for families of low-income paddy farmers in 7 districts.
Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amravira says the allowance will be given to families of farmers whose monthly income is less than 41,000 rupees living in Jaffna, Mullaitivu Manor, Trincomalee, Vaunia, Monaragala and Batticaloa districts. Commissioner General of the Department of Agrarian Development AMHL Abiratna says the allowance will be given in 2 installments by January. The Agriculture Ministry says the Asian Development Bank took steps to provide 8 billion rupees to 1.2 million families of farmers.
Sri Lanka's Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amravira visited the Wattala fertilizer storage facility on Tuesday. Fertilizer storage facilities in the Wattala area owned by 2 companies.
We are providing urea fertilizer for 10,000 rupees. I do not think anyone else will provide for that rate. Our efforts were realized by the entire farming community. Fertilizer that was sold for over 40,000 rupees was sold to us for just 10,000 rupees. Now the market price has dropped to around 20,000 rupees following state intervention.
With the economic crisis that occurred in the country, one of the biggest for the history of Sri Lanka, we saw many cases of malnutrition throughout the many months increase as well. Now, the health sector has also warned of very serious consequences if the rising levels of malnutrition in Sri Lanka are not addressed. Consultant community physician Dr. Enoka Wickramasinghe made these comments speaking on the Nagitimu Sri Lanka program on Tuesday morning. But of course, with this story, we'll have more details to you as the bulletin goes forward. Meanwhile, a half-completed bridge in a remote village in Ridiyagama has put many lives at risk.
Diniminiyatanna is a remote village located in the Ridiyagama Divisional Secretariat. A concrete bridge was constructed to allow the locals to cross the Kudawe that flows across the village. However, only half of the bridge was constructed and small concrete slabs is being used by the locals to cross the remaining area. Around 2,000 families use this bridge daily, and this is the only bridge that leads to the only cemetery for multiple villages. Although funds were allocated to extend the bridge on multiple occasions, it was only used to build a concrete slab.
Coming back to that story once again, the malnutrition levels in the country have increased, and the health sector has warned of very serious consequences if these rising levels of malnutrition are not addressed. Now, consultant community physician Dr. Enoka Wickramasinghe made these comments speaking on the Nagitimu Sri Lanka program on Tuesday morning.
In
2021, the low weight level of children below the age of 5 was 12.2%. However, this time it has increased to 15.3%. In the Polonnaruwa, Nuwara Eliya and Trincomalee districts, this level is greater than 15%. The same goes for the Matale and Mathura districts. This was an issue that we experienced, and now the percentage is higher within the period of 1 year. This not only affects the low-income earners, this also affects the middle-income and upper-income earners. If this is not addressed now, the consequences will be experienced in another 5 years.
අනිවාර්යෙන් ඒකේ සංකූලතා තව අවුරුදු 5-10ක් ඇතුළතදී අපිට බලා ගන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, a mass-scale environmental destruction has been reported surrounding the Chandrika River in Ambilipitia due to the illegal dumping of garbage.
The residents allege garbage is being dumped for over a decade in the area that is situated in close proximity of the Ambilipitia paper mill. When it rains, the garbage flows to the Chandrika River and contaminates the water body. According to locals, people living in Ratmal River, Kana Medriyara, Tunkama, Bingalayaya and other villages are facing severe health risks. Newsfirst inquired from the Ambilipitia Pradeshiya Sabha into this matter, and this is what the chairman had to say.
We accept
the mistake. We have been asking for a place from the Mahavali authority for years. However, we have not been provided favourable answers. We have taken this matter to the governor as well. Moving on to your weather story, Sri Lanka's irrigation department said that the spill gates of 8 reservoirs remain open. Director of Water Management at the Irrigation Department, Engineer D. Abesirivardhana, said that the catchment areas are receiving less rainfall compared to the weekend.
For the very first time this year, the Kandalama Reservoir in Damulla has exceeded spill levels. The excess water directly flows into the Kala River through the Dambulu Oya. Meanwhile, the Met Department notes that the low pressure area to the west of the island is gradually moving away from the coast of Sri Lanka. Therefore, it is expected that its impact on the weather of the island and the sea areas around the island will gradually decrease. Several spells of showers will occur in northern, north central and eastern provinces tomorrow. Showers or thunder showers will occur in few places in western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces during the afternoon or night.
Moving on to news overseas, Chinese officials have said that China will scrap quarantine for travellers from the 8th of January, marking the last major shift from the country's zero-COVID policy.
After 3 years of closed borders, this will effectively reopen the country to those with work and study visas or seeking to visit family. But it becomes as China struggles with the virus' ferocious spread in the wake of restrictions being lifted. Reporters say hospitals are overwhelmed and elderly people are dying. The true toll, daily case counts and deaths is currently unknown because officials have stopped releasing COVID data. Beijing has reported about 4,000 new COVID infections each day last week and few deaths.
Moving on to other stories overseas, dozens of Americans have died as winter storm brought frigid temperatures and paralyzing snowfall totals across the U.S. And officials in the Buffalo area believe the staggering toll will continue to grow as there are teams who carry on with search and rescue missions.
The nationwide death toll from the snowstorm, which brought more than 40 inches of snow to some areas, climbed to 49 on Monday, with 27 of those deaths in Erie County, New York. Buffalo Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia told CNN's Wolf Blitzer, unfortunately, they are still recovering bodies. Some died of exposure and some deaths were due to natural causes, he said of the people found dead recently. He said emergency responders will go and have gone to homes without heat and take people to warming shelters. Too many people, including residents, just going out to see the massive snowfall, are going out in their vehicles and getting stuck and blocking recovery efforts. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz tweeted that 14 people in the county had died of exposure. 3 people were found in their vehicles, 4 had no heat, 3 were from shoveling snow, blowing cardiac events, and 3 people passing away after EMS services were delayed.
Going into stories in Europe, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he has sought India's help with implementing a peace formula in a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
The conversation on Monday came at a time when India is seeking to strengthen trade relations with Moscow, while Western nations introduce new measures to limit Russia's funding of its war in Ukraine. Zelensky asked the Group of 20 or G20 major economies last month to adopt Ukraine's 10-point peace formula to end the war. India currently holds the G20 presidency for a year. The Indian government said in a statement that the two leaders discussed opportunities for strengthening cooperation. India, which has not explicitly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, has emerged as the largest buyer of Russian oil after China. Western sanctions have targeted Russia's fuel and energy products, which are its biggest exports and moneymakers. But this month, India bought barrels of Urals crude oil at well before a $60 price cap agreed by Western nations.
That's all the news this afternoon. Bringing you the news from the news desk, I am Sandro Satyajit signing off. Have a beautiful day.